If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
So, 3rd of May, what year is it again? 2015? I don't remember.
It doesn't matter.
2015, isn't that the year that you're running?
What's that?
Isn't that the year you're running, 2015?
Well, yeah, that's the year I'm going to start to run.
Okay, good.
I'm probably not going to do like a marathon or anything because that's pretty far, but maybe like a 1K. I think they have those.
No, I meant for president. El Presidente.
Oh. Wait, no. We say president.
Oh.
Here, El Presidente was somebody.
Well, because I thought...
Hey, anyways, we've taken Casual Friday to new heights.
Absolutely new heights.
Today. So let's just kind of paint the scene here.
Okay.
We're both wearing T-shirts of a particular kind.
Yes.
We're both wearing chive T-shirts.
Yep. We're both chiving tonight.
We're both chiving tonight. And we both have on shorts.
Yeah. Yours are more of jorts, except they have like that dress flap in the front.
Yeah, no, I took them. Yeah, I got them. I hope you. It's a skort.
Well, a skort, that's what it is. Well, it goes good with your sandals.
It does. Well, now I was just going to talk about those because you actually have tennis shoes and knee-high socks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting to me, but that's okay. And I like the 1970s thick stripe piping along the top. But what's funny is you have one. Hang on, you have one that's like blue and gold, and the other is blue and red because you didn't realize that you had matched up two different socks. But my flip-flops are actually Spam flip-flops. They're flip-flops, and they have pictures of like cans of Spam on them.
They absolutely do. It's the funniest thing.
Hawaiian throwback right now.
It's awesome.
Dude,
we're just chill here in the studio.
We are.
Which is good because the AC is stuck on high and we can't figure out to turn it off. So it's working out outstanding.
Yeah, the one day we decide to come in, it's not 107 inside the studio. Right, we got the cooler right here.
Hey, I got to throw a quick shout out. Rooster's son was trying out this week for a AA hockey team. It's a couple years beyond his age group, but he played to such a level that he was going for it, and he tried out and he made it. So I wanted to send a shout out to his son. Rooster's the proud papa. He's been talking about it all week, as he should be.
Outstanding.
So congratulations to him.
You didn't have to say that he was a few years from reaching. All you could have said is that he's awesome.
Yeah.
And that would have painted a picture.
Well, apparently he is, because he made it, and
that's
so good for him.
Congratulations.
What else is going on? Oh, by the way, I'm Sean. That's Clint. This is the Friday Night Fiasco.
I'm Clint, and you're Sean.
What did I say?
You said you're Sean, and that's Clint.
Right. Either way, it's working.
Right.
We're both here, and that's all that counts. The phone number is tonight, 347-205.
Sacco's not here. Apparently, he's part of the new generation that can telecommute.
He's telecommuting for the show tonight.
Hey, thanks, Generation X.
He's in the chat room for anyone that wants to create havoc with him. He's in the chat room, so go nuts on him.
And Jim is his underling and nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I know. His assistant's out tonight, too.
Right. Sacco can't be out and then have his assistant that's out also.
Well, I think he's working from home, so he has his assistant at his house running errands around there. He's like vacuuming and stuff like that with a maid's outfit. But hey, you know what? Jim likes to do it, so
and he looks really good doing it too. I just flew in again. So I really have to stop.
You have to schedule yourself better.
Doing this.
You have to do what I do, which is nothing all day.
Right.
In preparation for the show.
I do when I'm
literally
flying.
nothing.
Literally nothing when I'm flying. I do absolutely nothing.
That's not true. You work the controls occasionally.
With my feet.
With your feet.
Just something different.
So let's see.
Did you give out the number? Did I talk over you tonight?
Did I throw it out already tonight? 347-205-9399. If you want to join the show,
an extra number.
There's also plenty of people in the chat room.
Is Obama 2016 in there?
No, he's not. Rooster's in there, and a couple other folks are in there, which it's nice to see. So hopefully, if you want to jump into the chat and start the conversation to be a part of the conversation, you can go to our Blog Talk page and start the chat there.
Now, you already kind of threw it out there when you called me Presidente. So since you threw it out, let's talk. By the way, I have issue with the whole I don't know, because what's his name? Felipe Calderon?
Yes, El Presidente Calderon of Mexico.
Now, why? Listen, remember Spanish class, like in high school?
Yes.
The Spanish teacher gave you a Spanish name, right?
Absolutely.
You said your name. The teacher told you what your name was in Spanish.
Right.
So why is it when we're talking about the president of Mexico, why is it we don't call him by his English name? Philip Calderon. Or Philip Calder.
How about Philly? Phil Calder.
Why is that? Why can't we call him President Phil Calder? And look, I'm not. Okay, so is that racist or funny?
It's funny.
Look, I'm not trying to be racist. I'm saying, why do I have to have a Spanish name in Spanish class, and we can't give him an American English name when we're introducing him? Like, right? Because whenever our presidents go to another country, they have that pronunciation.
Yeah, no, I think
whatever nation it is.
So when we discuss him or when he comes to visit, his name shall be Phil.
Phil Calder.
Phil Calder. Hey, you know what?
Didn't he do that song?
I can feel it coming.
That was a different Phil.
That's a different Phil. You know, and I'm looking for my gavel, and I don't have it. I think I put it up there.
Okay.
But I'm going to call the Sackhead Assembly to order because I'm going to present a law. Good job. Sackhead Law number 2 on the table for presentation. Any world leader that comes to visit in this country, we shall find the American English pronunciation of their name and refer to them only as that. What do you think?
I like it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Law passes.
Okay, law passes unanimously.
Yes, Sackhead's Law number 2. Too bad Soccer wasn't here for his vote. We will mark him as an absentee.
Or
all the absentee on his law votes, he's starting to be like Obama when he was a senator.
McCain.
Or McCain.
Over the past 75 years, more than 10,000 chemicals have entered our food supply, but the EU allows just 300 additives. At Thrive Market, we prioritize quality, banning over 1,000 ingredients found in conventional grocery stores. Our Healthy Swap scanner helps you find better versions of your pantry essentials without the junk, dyes, or fillers, and everything is delivered right to your doorstep. So shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health at thrivemarket.com/getstarted for 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift.
Now Taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good, all 100% free.
What if I had 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Now this is Taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live, must start and file in app by 2/18.
Wait, what?
What?
I think Sacco's a progressive. We just unmasked him.
So, the president, our president,
create a new segment? Racist or funny?
Racist or funny? I think that should be a good segment for the show,
right.
where we can dissect. Is this something that?
Because I guarantee you, we are going to be called racist for that segment.
We already have been. We've gotten hate mail about it. Who cares?
Oh, I don't.
But I think that's a good segment for us in the future, racist or funny.
Which is funny because we're probably one of the most racially diverse shows.
You know who I can't wait to have on for that is Ken.
Ken.
From the Exceptional Conservative Show, who joined us this past Sunday night.
That was a great that was a good time.
It's also, if you want to download it, it's on our iTunes. But we had kind of a round table with Ken, and we're going to start trying to do that monthly.
Yeah. That begs the question: is Ken in fact racist, or is Ken in fact funny?
He is funny.
I'm
he
saying
is
he's
funny as all hell. The Exceptional Conservative Show. If you haven't had a chance to check him out, he gets us laughing. He's smart. He's always on the dime. So he nails it. He absolutely nails it. It's a good show. We had a blast.
That's a
It's a quick one.
show.
It's only an hour, but it was well worth our time to come in on our quote unquote night off. I love how we have 6 nights off during the week. That's not important right now. So the international apology tour continues. This time, our president, not Phil Calderon.
Phil Calder.
Our president was in Mexico, and they were talking about, and I think he was at the Mexican Apology Museum, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. Anthropology
your
Museum.
Notes were kind of scratchy.
Yeah, no,
right
it's
there.
just. Well, I automatically went to apology because it's easy to relate.
Right.
But he again was blaming other people's problems on something that we
No, he
did.
wasn't, and I bet you don't have the audio to back that up.
Okay, I take that bet, and Sacco.
Okay, I retract that bet.
Sacco, roll clip. Sacco.
Hey, Sacco, go ahead and roll clip 1.
Sacco, clip 1, please. Okay, forget it.
He
I'll
can't
do it.
do that.
No, I'll do it. Don't worry about it, Sacco. Clip 1.
And we also recognize that most of the guns used to commit violence here in Mexico come from the United States. I think many of you know that in America our Constitution guarantees our individual right to bear arms. And as president, I swore an oath to uphold that right, and I always will.
Really?
But at the same time, as I've said in the United States, I will continue to do everything in my power to pass common sense reforms that keep guns out of the hands of criminals and dangerous people that can save lives here in Mexico and back home in the United States. It's the right thing to do.
So I have a question. Is the president racist or funny? Because here's what he says. Listen very carefully. He says that a lot of guns find their way into Mexico, right? Responsible for gun violence in Mexico.
Right.
But he's going to find a way to keep guns out of the hands of criminals.
Right.
Was he calling, and it's a question, was he calling the Mexican people criminals? Because on one sentence, he says he wants to keep, right, the guns used in gun violence basically are in Mexico come from the United States.
Right.
And he wants to keep the guns out of the hands of criminals. Like back to back, he makes those statements. So drawing a parallel, is that what he meant?
I understand why you're going where you're going.
Okay. And again, I'm asking the question.
I'm going to say no, and here's why.
Okay.
He would not dare blame another country for their problems.
No. He's not blaming them. Is it a backhanded comment that they can't handle guns?
He's not going to insult them. Just like he will never hold other countries accountable. Nothing like that. So no.
Why are you being so defensive? I was merely posing a question.
I'm merely posing the reality.
Huh?
Listen, he once again goes abroad to these other countries that have issues.
No, that's the Secret Service that goes to other broads.
No, you're right. That's a different broad all the way around.
That's not what you're talking about here.
Not what I'm talking about here.
I'm so confused right now.
This time it's in Mexico. And you remember the last time the Mexican president was here? He pretty much insulted us at our own White House.
Yeah.
So this time our president goes to Mexico and insults us at their version of the White House.
Right.
So I guess maybe that's kind of like I'm doing your job for today and you do my job. Why would he even go out there and say that? Listen, Mexico is extremely lawless and, by the way, has one of the tightest gun controls in the entire world.
They have laws.
Right. Some of the toughest gun control in the world.
Right.
It is also run by cartels. It's a completely corrupt government, even though it's getting better slowly.
It is.
But oftentimes, what happens when they get principled politicians in their form of government anywhere,
they get killed.
They get killed and murdered, and there are no consequences for that.
Wasn't there legislation introduced recently? And recently, I mean, within the last 6 months or so, in Mexico to change their name legally because their legal name is the United States of Mexico, and they wanted to change that name because it sounded too close to the United States of America?
I don't recall that.
I'm pretty sure I'm right on that, although I may not be.
If anyone has any
highly
input on that, I'd
unlikely.
love to hear it. 347-205-9399. I think they should. Oh, how about this? We should do a contest. Sacco, if you're listening, and you are, I need you to take notes. We're gonna do a new contest. Rename Mexico.
He's telecommuting.
Oh.
It doesn't have pen and paper. It's telecommute. What
You're
part
right.
of that do you not understand?
My fault. We should definitely do like a challenge to the Sackhead Army out there to rename Mexico. Come up with a new name for what Mexico should be.
I found it.
What is it?
I found it on Times news feed, and according to the article by Emma O'Connor, November 26, 2012, it says Mexican President Felipe Calderon, and I'm reading here, so I'm not in violation of Sackhead law, has submitted a bill to change Mexico's name to Mexico. Although the United States' southern neighbor has long been called Mexico all over the world, the abbreviation is still unofficial, and the country's formal name remains the Estados Unidos Mexicanos, the United Mexican States. And the country became the United Mexican States when the republic was established in 1824 after it achieved independence from Spain. So there were other oppressors other than... Anyways, I digress. What? So he wants to change the name because, to quote him, the name of our country no longer needs to emulate that of other nations, meaning the United States. So I was right.
Right. No, you nailed it again. Well, I think that should be like our fun challenge for the week. If you go to sackheadsradio.com, you can pull up the show play out for tonight or read out for tonight. If you click read more, we have a comment section. What do you
Hair thinning can happen for so many reasons. Whether it's stress or hormones or anything, at Nutrafol we've learned that real change starts below the surface. Our hair growth supplements take a whole body approach and target the key root causes of hair thinning, so you can see visibly thicker, stronger hair in 3 to 6 months.
Hair growth starts from the inside at Nutrafol.com. That's Nutrafol.com.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC now recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
think the name of Mexico should be changed
I
to?
think it should be the United States of Mexico or the United Mexican States, because I think all the people there need to be reminded of what a true free republic should look like and model their nation as such, because I believe that other governments should emulate our founding governmental principles of individual liberties.
Yeah, well, you know, why don't we start with it? Why don't we start getting it so that politicians aren't getting murdered when they stand up against
That's
some sort of tyrannous way?
That's their job. That's the people of Mexico.
Well, right. So let's wait for that to happen before we talk about who they're emulating. Because right now they kill each other on a regular basis. What was it last week? A whole bunch of farmers took over a town that was run by cartels because they got sick of it, and the law enforcement wasn't doing anything. Neither was the government. So, and I guess they got a little.
The people took it and
good. It's funny, wasn't there a poll this week that we discussed earlier?
There was.
That came out talking about in this country in particular, whether or not there would be an armed revolt.
Which we do not agree with.
But I just think I can't remember the last time I've ever heard.
It's like 28%. And I'll have to try and find that poll again.
You know, maybe it was I wasn't reading Twitter when we had the first Civil War, so I don't know what the numbers were in the polls back then.
Right.
But that's pretty amazing that 28% of this country, and it's both
sides of the aisle.
Why did you just
call it the first Civil War?
I don't know.
I just noticed that. That's just a question.
That's awesome. That's a good way for you to really point out my faults, so I appreciate that.
I don't think it's fault. I think you have some deep-seated emotional issues that we need to perhaps stress on another show.
I don't think that's... maybe I should go to one of the psychic call-in lines or something like that that's on out there on internet radio as well.
And then when they ask for your credit card number, say you're psychic.
Yeah, come on, you should
figure it out.
Figure it out. What's your name? Come on, dude, you should know that too. Isn't that crazy that 28% of the people, and that's from both sides of the aisle. I mean, that's not just Republicans, that's also Democrats.
Independents. And Republicans.
And like I said, we have to find that poll so we can actually talk about it, but or at least cite it. I can't believe that many people actually believe that. I mean, it makes sense to me. A lot of people are nervous. I won't mention the name, but we had friends of ours over a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to the friend's husband. And, you know, I say it all the time on the show that I feel like I'm getting more paranoid as time progresses. And we were discussing the possibility of the armed revolt. And he's like, hey, you know what? I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I never thought growing up it could happen. He's a conservative. He said, but, you know, it's one of those things now that this country is getting so out of control and we're getting so far away from our Constitution and all these absolutely insane laws. I mean, you look at Obamacare, healthcare, blah, 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 that are coming out. Now there's the morning after pill can be sold over the counter to anyone of any age, which I think it's funny, and I want somebody to do this undercover investigation. Send in a young gal, probably like 14 to 15, and then an older male dressed really sharp, nice, well-spoken. Go to the pharmacy and secretly record one of them buying Sudafed and the other one buying, the young girl buying the Plan B. Because I want people to actually see.
Why is it called Plan B?
I don't know. I don't know
what's Plan A.
I don't know what Plan A was, but Plan Abstinence maybe. I don't know.
No, gosh, no. They would never.
Either way,
do that.
I just want to see that and have people's reaction when this 15-year-old girl can walk up to the counter and say, "Yeah, can I have the morning after pill, please? Here you go, $4.25." Walks away. Yeah, I'd like 12 packs of Sudafed. I'm gonna need to see ID, sir.
No, I'd like 1 pack of Sudafed.
No, but you have to do 12 because I want it to garner attention. I want people to go, why is he buying 12? It's none of your damn business. I have a cold. I'll buy as much Sudafed as I want.
Yeah, but in California, you can't. In California, they limit the amount of Sudafed you can purchase.
Again, not addressing the root problem. The root problem is the people that make the meth, not the Sudafeds, and that's a methamphetamine thing. That's a byproduct of the methamphetamines. They use Sudafed.
It's a precursor.
Yeah. So instead of, again, I have to go show my ID for Sudafed, not to vote.
Red Sudafed.
Red
the
Sudafed.
Regular old
Sufedrin.
with ephedrine, right?
Ephedrine, rather. I don't have to show my ID to vote, but I need it for Sudafed, and I certainly don't need it if I'm 14 years old and I want to buy the morning after pill according to a judge. Doesn't that kind of tell you the scary path that we're going down in this country? Like how it's screwed up to me. It is really, really just sad. Sorry.
What does this have to do with the president of Mexico?
Did I go off on a rant?
A little bit.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So the president was somewhere in Mexico. And he apologized yet again because they can't police their own issues and they want to blame us and he's going to let them. And so much so he's going to make it easy for them. He's going to just come out and apologize to them on our behalf for something that I don't even know why we're apologizing. Isn't that...
Did you not listen to the president? He said because most of the guns used have come from the United States.
Here's the breakdown.
Now, is he talking about manufactured, or is he talking about given by the government of our Fast and Furious, or... No, he wouldn't be talking about that.
No. Not all the not all the ones that they sent down there.
Because who manufactures more guns? Right? I mean, how many American gun companies do you have versus German or
how about
Russian
this? Look at all the guns and then talk about AK-47. AK-47 is the most widely produced weapon available, and I think it's less than like $100 to make. And it'll shoot. It's made all over the world. Yep. It's made in every small country, you name it. They stole it. China produces them by the millions on a regular basis, and they don't care who they sell it to. You remember our friend China, right? The ones that we're so buddy-buddy with?
Right.
They don't care who they sell it to. So I love it how it's our fault that the rest of the world – and funny part is most of these countries that sell and export them for money – they're not exactly big on their import-export customs. They don't care what goes where. And the other countries in Central America near Mexico, they're not exactly tight on customs either. So the guns get in and we get blamed. And I want to see the stat that's done somewhere that says a majority of the weapons that are being found, and I know they said some have been found. Yes, some have been found because Fast and the Furious brought a bunch down there. What's the percentage of guns that were registered or produced in America that they can prove when it crossed the border into Mexico from America?
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Versus all the other ones.
But who cares? And here's why I say that. How many guns are it's like a stolen car. Okay, how many cars are stolen in the United States, from the United States, Canada, border states or whatnot, or Canada, California, Texas, Arizona, right, and then driven across the border into Mexico, and when you see California-plated cars in Mexico, Texas-plated cars in Mexico, and you know they're probably stolen, but those are never recovered. How many of those cars are used to transport bodies by cartels or used
coyotes,
in the deaths
or they drive into the fence? Or
But anyways, listen, how many of these guns are being stolen from the United States, residential burglaries, whatever the case is, and being brought into Mexico?
Yeah,
same principle.
No, I
understand
the principle.
So why it's like blaming the car owner for having their car stolen and brought into Mexico, and now that car is used in some crime down there or whatever. It's ridiculous to me.
How many of the drugs that they are selling in their pharmacies down there are causing overdoses that come from American drug companies?
I don't know.
You know, we can keep going as to why we're apologizing, but that's one of those things. Before the president goes to another country and apologizes, I would like to have some sort of fact to go, oh, you know what? They said 22% of the guns, I made that number up, in Mexico. Okay, well, maybe our Border Patrol and Customs don't do what goes into Mexico per se. That's their job. It's our job when they come from Mexico here. So, okay, how's that still our fault?
Right. And if guns are being stolen in the United States and brought to Mexico, how's that our fault? Broughton? Yeah, you like it? It's like tooked.
No, I agree.
So if a gun gets tooked in the United States and then brought into Mexico...
And who's bringing it into Mexico? I don't think it's American citizens.
Maybe it is.
Crazy.
Maybe it is, but if they are they not committing a crime?
Yeah.
Is it not against the law in Mexico? Right? I'm pretty sure I remember something about a Marine being imprisoned over there for something like that.
Like an antique shotgun or something.
Right, which was actually legal to... Anyways.
It's not the point.
Not the point.
The point was he was thrown in jail because he was an American and he had a gun in Mexico.
Right.
Even though it wasn't any violation. But, again, that goes to the lawlessness of their country. They just
No, they have laws.
Do they?
Oh, they have them.
Right. They're the most stringent gun laws, as we said earlier. They just don't apply them.
Well, you know what? Then I think this whole thing is a hoax, because if they have the toughest gun laws, there's obviously no gun violence over there.
None at all.
Right?
Zip, zero, zilch.
None. I think it is all a hoax to get international sympathy and money.
Well, you know, Phil, whenever Phil makes the news, he always has a card up his sleeve. He blames us for all their problems, despite all the money we send down there, all the equipment and training we do for their government. We still get blamed for it. That's what I just can't understand the reasoning.
We send them there's like I read something one time. They get old like surplus law enforcement
everything
stuff that from like some of the California state agencies that get sent old uniforms and old equipment.
And they get it from the military. They get a lot of hand-downs from our military. I know Texas, Arizona, a lot of companies, a lot of the I read, because they was talking about our relations with Mexico, is a lot of the police departments, federal law enforcement, blah, 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 when they turn in their old bulletproof vests to get, they all get collected and sent down to Mexico, and they're donated to them. So I just, what don't we do for them?
Obviously, we do too much. We should cease all aid to Mexico.
I agree.
Right? Hey, if you're going to blame us for all your troubles, hey, you know what? We don't want to be a burden to you anymore.
Yeah, we don't.
We do not want
all the
to
stuff
cause,
we give you is obviously causing you problems.
Obviously, we do not want to cause problems in your country, so we will be completely hands
off.
Yeah,
we're still giving F-16s to Egypt, so I mean, we have to start somewhere.
We're talking about Mexico right now. We're talking about the United Mexican States right now.
I was just talking about all the stuff that we hand out.
Right, but maybe we need to stop. Maybe we need to stop giving Mexico those things because obviously they don't appreciate it. Obviously, they can't use it.
No.
Obviously, they're not putting those items that they're given for law enforcement military purposes to good use.
Yeah, well, they are.
Right?
How they keep falling into the. You know, it's funny.
How impotent is their government
awful
that they cannot stop cartels?
Which is funny because they can buy Viagra without a prescription down there. They should not be an impotent government.
They should not
at all.
Different. I meant it in a different way.
Oh, my bad. A lot, and it's funny. A lot of people don't know that.
Bad?
Yeah,
that sounded okay.
A lot of their government, their cartels down there, are former Mexican special forces that we trained in order for them to be able to protect the state of Mexico. Then they realized that they had more power than the Mexican military, so they
and they could get paid more,
and they could get paid a hell of a lot more. So they started dealing dope. Again, that's our fault because we trained them.
Right.
If we didn't have trained them.
Didn't have.
Well, yeah, you said tooken earlier, and there was something else.
Didn't have trained them.
If we didn't train them,
right,
it never would have happened, right?
But didn't they ask us to train them?
Well, yeah, we should have said no. We should have taught them a hard lesson and say, you know what, you need to do this yourself. If we do everything for you...
No, we should have said no because, hey, it's in your best interest if we don't because then we won't train bloodthirsty killers to be bought off and go to work for the cartel. So it's in your best interest if we don't train your folks.
Hey, we know our guys, and we know that the best at what they do and all that stuff. You don't want that when you don't know who these people are.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys obviously don't do a good job of vetting anybody. Look at your government. So
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you think that the cartels pose a clear and pose a danger to the United States,
absolutely,
a national security
absolutely,
issue, and that violence has spilled over across the border, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
How is that not an act of war?
Because they are no longer agents of the state of Mexico.
Okay. I remember somebody named Pablo somebody, Escobar. Yeah. Didn't our military kill him?
No, the CIA did.
Oh yeah, I forget about that.
The military was loaned to the CIA for the operation, but it was still technically a CIA operation.
Huh. And the Colombian government didn't...
Oh, no, I think they approved the entirety of it.
Huh. Interesting.
Because they knew that if they didn't do something, we would have.
Why doesn't Philip Calder...
I don't know. We should ask Phil that question. You know, what's funny is I talked to a friend of mine that was... he's in the Army, and he was training at a base down in Texas, and it's right along the Mexican border. And he was saying that at certain times, if they were walking the fence near the Mexican border and there was a town on the other side, and I forget the name of the town off the top of my head, they would actually get shot at from the people in that town. And they weren't there to secure the border.
How could they get shot at? Guns are illegal in Mexico. So obviously your friend is not being honest.
That's a good point.
Thank you.
Rooster in the chat says that Escobar was killed by the Colombians. I don't believe that to be 100%. We pointed him out to them.
I thought there were Americans involved in that operation.
I think there was more involved to that. I think we had more of a hand than just pointing him out.
Yeah.
We may have been quote-unquote advisors.
Right.
But I believe we had folks on the ground involved with it. So... I listen, if you have documentation to prove otherwise, I'd love to see it. And if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one.
If not, then we're right. So,
but if you can't prove it, so we're coming up on our first break of the night.
We are already?
We are. We come back, we'll probably need to close up Mexico, which is what we should.
Let's just close it up now.
Which is what we should have done with the border years ago.
What?
I'm sorry, Mexico.
I'm not.
To the people of Mexico, I'm really sorry that you guys can't have a solid government and that your government can't protect the people. I'm really sorry that all the money, tools, equipment, training that we send to you is such a burden on your great nation.
See, I don't think that's the people.
I'm apologizing to them as a whole, though, because the president's still one of the people,
right.
I believe, because it's the United States of Mexico.
Right.
I'm really sorry that your main industry, which was tourism for years, is being destroyed because people are afraid to come to Mexico now, for the most part. And I'm really sorry we've done so much to make your life miserable. I didn't realize. I thought when you called something aid, I thought it was to help, but apparently it's to impair. So maybe we should just start removing ourselves from the situation, because we're kind of like the bad boyfriend now.
You know what?
Just being in the situation, we obviously make it worse.
And I think it would be different if Americans had actually spilled blood on behalf of the American people for their freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, that's never happened. Wait, there was that one place. Remember the what was it? It's like a pie a la mode or something. The Alamo.
Remember the pie a la mode.
Right?
Ooh, did you remember to bring pie a la mode tonight?
Yes, I did.
Awesome.
So we did have Americans that spilled blood for the American people and their ideals of liberty when the oppressive government of Santa Anna was...
Interesting.
Interesting. Never mind. We've been a burden throughout history and continue to do so. So I'll let you go on with your apology, Mr. Presidente, Sean.
No, I feel bad for the people, because I thought we were... I really thought we were trying to help, and
I thought we were friends.
It was misguided, and that's our fault.
I thought we were friends.
It really is our fault. Listen, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in a few minutes. We're going to have to choose what we're going to talk about at the break. I love playing that game. Stick around. It's going to be fun either way. Phone number for tonight, 347-205-9399. Sackheads Radio.
Hey folks, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for making this country and our communities a better and safer place. God bless.
Hello, I'm Ashley, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Dr. Larry Arnn on why the Constitution limits government.
James Madison writes in Federalist 51 that men are not angels. Their passions and self-interest often get the better of their reason and sense of justice. So we need government in order to protect our rights against those who would take them away. But for the same reason, Madison writes, government must be limited, because people in government have passions and interests too. Many Americans today forget this, supposing that we can do away with constitutional limits on government, supposing that the unelected bureaucrats being put in charge of our health care, for example, will rule as if they are angels. If Madison was correct about human nature, this is foolish and dangerous.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. We often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school board, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you more about us over at homefronthugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. Homefronthugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to homefronthugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Fat Cats Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
And that we are 347-205-9399 if you want to call the show and sit on hold. I mean, you know. So, any final thoughts on Mexico before we move off the topic?
I've got no use for them.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, what's that?
You said you have no use for those people?
No. I didn't hear what you said. I was reading a quote from Obama's FA nominee. He said apparently about white people, quote, "I've got no use for them in the democratic process." I'm sorry, did you ask me a question?
Yeah, I was seeing if you had any final thoughts on the Mexico topic.
No, I thought we wrapped it up before the break. And,
okay, I just wanted to double check.
It must have sounded bad.
Yeah, it just sounded like you were talking about the people of Mexico. So.
Nope, no, I wasn't. But in that misunderstanding, racist or funny?
Funny and racist.
No, I'm talking about this guy, the nominee.
Funny and racist.
Okay.
Well, you know, it's like everything else. I appreciate the fact that he has his opinion, and you know what? At least you know where he stands. I'll give him credit in that regard. You know where he stands.
Yeah.
There's no question now. So
no, and you know what? He has a right
to say what he says.
To say what he says.
Absolutely.
And for that viewpoint, he does. And I, you know what? I support his right to say that.
Wow,
I support his right to say that. I don't agree with
what he said.
Right, but I support his right to express that. I mean, he has the right to that opinion.
I just love
Obama.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. He really appoints some amazingly ridiculous people to try to be these cabinet positions, and somehow, like,
name one.
Van Jones.
That's not a cabinet position.
Right, he was the czar.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay, name another one.
Let's see. Holder? Ooh. No.
Okay, besides that, name another one. Good. Hegel?
Yeah.
What else? Name another one. Sotomayor? I mean, what? Never mind.
I know we don't have tapes that go back a couple years ago, and I know there's no Al Gore didn't invent something that made it easy to go back for people to check and see if somebody said something.
What
interwebs? I know that doesn't exist.
Right.
So you can kind of duck some of these stupid statements that some politicians make, and you have to go back to microfiche and look up old newspaper articles or use the card catalog at the library.
You have to go to the Dewey Decimal System.
Right. You have to do all these things. We found that quote in about
Dewey Decimal?
14 seconds.
No props for Dewey Decimal?
Well, yeah. I didn't get card catalog props, so I figured screw you too.
I was playing off you when I said Dewey Decimal. Come on. That's what we do here.
Well, listen, I know at this point he's already won a second election, and he's just throwing everything at the wall to see it stick.
Who, Dewey Decimal?
The president.
Oh.
Again, I've gone on record as saying I believe that he is a socialist, and the only reason he doesn't come out and say it is because it's considered a problem world still in this country. So he doesn't say it, but he is. I mean, you look at his programs, you look at his beliefs. He's a progressive Democrat / socialist, and that's fine if that's who he wants to be. I just wish he'd come out and say the word socialist, but whatever.
Wait a sec. You wish. Are you calling the entire administration socialist?
A majority.
Maxine Waters has made the slip before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Saying that she was a socialist, right?
Yeah.
What I meant was, what this socialist means that what I want to socialize, regulate the.
Now, Sean, I want to be perfectly clear, which is the administration's code word for "I'm going to lie to your face." Whenever anyone in that administration says it, let me be clear. That means I'm going to lie.
Right. And so do you think Obama should have some, like, socialist-sounding music when he comes out on stage?
I don't care what music he comes on stage to.
What? Why are you Where did you get this audio?
Why am I getting blamed for this? Oh, this is absolutely awful.
And now we introduce Comrade Barack Obama.
Well, I mean, I know I'm going to get the usual crap that people give us. He's not a socialist. He's a progressive Democrat, and there's a big
same
difference.
thing.
There's not a big difference.
There's not a big difference. Same thing.
And when he makes these appointments like this FHA guy or the transportation secretary appointment that he made last week or Van Jones
But you know what kills me is every time he makes one of these very controversial appointments, Congress, you get people in Congress, this is ridiculous. I can't believe he's getting somebody so, right, like Hagel and these other, but they always get confirmed.
Yeah.
Obviously, Congress isn't that worried about it.
Yeah.
Because they confirm
him. Somebody has to be concerned somewhere. I'm concerned, right?
I'm concerned, but how come nobody in Congress? You know what would be great? I would if a senator had the stones to stand up and say, you know what, I may have voted for you for your confirmation, but since this is part of the democratic process and you have no use for my kind in the democratic process, I can't vote for you. I'm going to give you your wish. I can't vote for you. Right, therefore, I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to participate in this because you have no use for me obviously.
Whatsoever.
Right. So I'm gonna give you your wish. I'm not going to vote no because that would be taking part in the democratic process. But I'm not going to vote yes either. And so then you can't get a majority of the vote. What do you think about that strategy?
I think that's an amazing strategy, and I think that's something that we definitely should approach. I think that's something we should try to do.
Right. Hey, since I'm here to serve the people, you are one of the people, and since you have no use for me in the democratic process, then I will give you. I will do your will, your bidding, the will of the people, right? And I will not partake in that on your behalf.
Fair. I think that's quite fair. I think that's an amazing approach, and it should probably be done.
Okay. Do you think anybody will?
No, absolutely not. Not even close.
But now, if you like that idea, please take this sackhead clip and send it to your senator.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
We give them this idea.
Yeah, no. Listen, we've given a lot of ideas.
Just credit us.
I don't even care if you credit us.
On the congressional floor, on the Senate floor, right?
Right.
Just hey, I want to credit Sackheads Radio with this idea. That's what I'm about to say.
I'd like to move into the congressional record. This quote from...
I want a senatorial resolution that Sackheads Radio...
You know, if there is a up-and-coming member of Congress that really wants to make a stand, we invite you onto the show.
Rand Paul.
He's not up-and-coming. He's up. There's got to be some youngster out there that I'm overthinking, not thinking of.
Sackhead Clint.
Yeah, Sackhead Clint would be a good one. But I just think that would be a good approach. You want to really make waves in Congress? Throw some sackheads at them. And right now I want to move into the congressional record. Said Clint. Racist or funny? Said Sean. I think it's both. Said Clint. That is all. Thank you. I yield the rest of the time to this guy dressed like Charlie Chaplin.
By the way, was that racist or funny? Can I get a vote on that? Anyone? Anyone? No? All right, I'll sit down.
Can I move it to assembly at least? Something. I want a committee, rather.
A point of order. I just wanted to say that. I don't know what it means, but point of order.
Oh, man.
I need to go to Washington.
Dude,
I need to get elected because I would have so much fun with all
I would love
guys.
to get you elected. I absolutely would love to get you elected. I think that would be outstanding. If we can work on that. Like I said, Sackhead Clint, 2015. I think we're dialed. We have a good plan. We know how to attack it. You know, you could get a lot done there. You laugh, but how funny would it be if there was some special election that came up in 2015?
Right.
And we ran you. And we'd been talking about it for 2 years at that point.
You know what? All the conspiracy theorists would come out and say,
"Oh, it'd be insane."
We knew they were totally involved with this.
They're like 9/11. They're an inside job. Hey, speaking of not really playing with the full deck, so
did McCain say something?
No, it wasn't him this time.
Oh, was it
what?
McCartney?
No. Well, man, I hate when you dump that on me because you knew we have a Carney one lined up too.
I do.
But this is going to be more of our favorite Nancy.
That was Pistol Grip Pelosi,
Pistol
was
Grip
it not?
Pelosi, yes,
it sounded
is.
just like
Old friend of the show, Pistol Grip Pelosi. So Pistol Grip was on with Andrea Mitchell on MSNBC, and they were talking the potential run of former Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton and former First Lady as well, and they were talking about her
former
running.
Secretary of State also.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said that.
I thought you said former First Lady.
And former Secretary of State.
I'm
She's
not
also
paying
a former
attention to
senator.
what you say. Yes.
So
she's also formerly young. What?
Either way, his
racist
Pelosi
or funny.
on MS. Age discrimination or funny. Here's Pelosi on MSNBC with Andrea Mitchell.
Speaking of women, Hillary in 2016 would be exciting. I hope she goes. Why wouldn't she?
I hope she
could
goes
be president of the United States, and she would be great. And if she decided to run, and I think she would win, she would go into the White House as well prepared or better prepared than almost anybody who has served in that office in a very long time. I won't include Washington, Jefferson, Adams, or something right up there. but maybe she'd be great.
First of all,
her guy hasn't even moved his stuff out yet, and she's already saying Hillary's going to do a better job just by walking through the door than he's done in 5 years.
And what's Joe Biden saying right now? Right? What's Uncle Joe saying right now? I want to be a fly in that room when he.
That's a bunch of malarkey.
I don't think he's saying malarkey.
You want to see me fist my entire fist in my mouth?
Want to see me fist? Hey, somebody dare me. Hey, where's those sackhead guys? Hey, guys, dare me. Dare me to put my fist in my mouth. Watch this.
Meanwhile,
you're not going to dare me? Okay, I'll do it anyways.
Meanwhile, in Joe's room. Somebody must have dared me to do something. What is it? Whole fist? I'll do both.
Joe, what is it?
How can she? And listen, I'm not saying. I told you before. I out of the two of them, I thought Hillary would have been a better president than Obama the last time around. I've said that before. I'm not saying I like her, but I think she would have been better than President Obama.
I agree.
But how can Pelosi, and listen, this is the same woman who said you'll find out what's in the health care bill. So it does make sense.
But she's been right.
Right. She's not wrong. She was telling us the truth for once.
Right.
How can she even fantasize about saying that's just first of all,
I can't believe you said Pelosi and fantasize in the same sentence. That's the first thing I want to address. I actually just threw up a little in my mouth.
Oh yeah.
And what?
Oh
Come
yeah.
on.
How could she even possibly say that? I mean, that's insane.
Well, here's how she can say it, because actually I think Hillary Clinton would have a better chance of winning the Democratic nomination than Joe Biden.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
I really do. I think Joe is going to run. I think Uncle Joe is going to run. I would love for him to win just because we would have 4 more years of material.
What are we going to do when he goes away?
But we'd have to follow him. We'll have to follow him.
We'll have to embed somebody into his everyday life.
Maybe he'd be willing to come on the show.
Hey, you know what? If he wants to come on now,
I would love that. I would love
great.
to hang out and talk with Joe. I just think he'd be so fun to talk with. But I think that she would be a better candidate for the Democratic Party. I really do, than Joe Biden, because Hillary Clinton is loved by a lot of people, a lot of independents.
Right.
I think Benghazi is really going to hurt her.
Oh, yeah. Well, but it's also going to hurt Joe.
Especially, well, I mean, although the good news is that it was so long ago.
Well, the good news is also that we all know Joe had no idea what was going on.
Right.
So he actually has legitimate deniability.
He could say, listen, I was drunk and passed out in the Oval Office. Even though I don't drink. Listen, he's drunk, remember? Stick with me on this. Come on, Sean. I think he'd be like, listen, I had no clue. I was playing Tiddlywinks in the parlor, and and people would be like, hey, he probably had no clue. I can see that.
He probably was.
Yeah.
He
hey, Barack, what are you doing?
Hey.
Nothing, Joe.
Hey,
is it a big freaking deal? Yeah.
Just so you guys know, I spent the last 4 days trying to get the square peg through the round hole. Finally did it. So anything been going on? No? Great. Going back to my room, get a whole box of Legos. See ya. And the door slams.
What's wrong with Legos, first of all?
Nothing. There's
Okay.
nothing wrong with it.
I love Legos.
I was just discussing his day-to-day activity.
Right, and you know what? He probably has like Lego battles, right? Like, rah, destroys the whole building. Hey, where's my G.I. Joe? Bring it. I have G.I. Joe versus Lego.
I have this image, though, of going into a cabinet meeting, and Joe's the first one in there, and all the cabinet members come walking at the same time, and the president, and he's just sitting there with his fist fully in his mouth, just, I finally done it, you know, just...
You know what I picture? I can picture Joe Biden, like at a cabinet meeting, being the first one in there, right, to set the scene. And then it's time for him to get up and get some water, and he's like just in his boxers. And those like sock holders, you know, the ones that wrap around the leg and keep your socks
and
up.
Spats. He's like, oh, hey, you know, I finally, oh, damn my pants. All right, well, it doesn't matter. It's a big freaking deal anyhow. Hey, anyone see my Joe Boxer shorts? Look,
hey, anybody see a one-eared elephant? Watch this. I mean,
there's Woodstock on it. It's from Peanuts. It's funny.
That Peanuts boxers. It's never mind. It's it.
So, speaking of a long time ago,
who was speaking of a long time ago? That's like a really awkward transition.
You were a little while ago.
Of a long time ago?
Yeah.
No, what I was going to say is, why did Pelosi get the order of the first three presidents wrong? Do you think the guy that was in her ear? Well, I throw these names out real quick, right? You brought that up earlier,
right?
Hey, mention these guys. Do you think she knew that Adams actually came before Jefferson?
I think
that it
she
was
was just
Washington, Adams, Jefferson, or was she just like, I better throw these three names out?
Exactly. I'm going to throw out a whole bunch of names. First, you had Washington, and we all know he was on the $1 bill, and that's what he did. President,
he invented the $1 bill. That's why he's on it.
President Ben Franklin, who's on the 100. He wasn't a president. And then.
But he's on money, so.
And then Abe Lincoln. I'm sorry, Lincoln. I'm being told it's Lincoln. He invented the Lincoln Logs. He is. What's he on the 5? Okay, we're gonna go to break right now. Pelosi, will you stick around?
And Calvin
Sure.
Coolidge, because he was really cool. He invented the cool fridge, the cool refrigerator. So, he was conservative. We don't like him. He sucked. He was horrible.
I don't even know where to go now. You know what the heck with this? You know, we're right up against the break.
President Woodrow Wilson, you know, he invented that ball that talked to that guy on that one movie.
You ever wonder if, like, she, Joe, and McCain sit around and talk about what a great president Harding was? You know, because they lived through it. That guy had some stuff dialed.
Remember when Teddy Roosevelt came into office? Remember when he walked in, he was all rough ridery?
Well, like, listen, young man, you need to calm down.
Right.
I understand you're trying to get some stuff done.
Listen,
but, you know.
Junior.
Hey, Mr. Jackson, you don't go by Old Hickory while you're in here, all right? You just go by President Jackson, newcomer. And then
Old Hickory, it has kind of a dirty connotation to it.
And then they hazed him. Hey, seeing how we're up against the break, I know Rooster's calling in. He's probably going to take him on after the break because he needs more than the 4 minutes that we have left. So I'm going to take a blind call just for fun because we're having fun tonight in the show and we haven't done this in a long time. So, triple ones, you're on the air with Sackheads Radio. Can you have a question? That would be you. Hello.
Hello.
There you go.
Hi. Do you have a question?
I do have a question. I was just questioning whether or not I'm going to do some news at some point. The show, or if I can roll over and go to bed.
Well, yeah, we're going to do the news, but you called in from a different number. I didn't recognize it. I didn't mean called in. I mean you chimed in from the newsroom next door.
Why is there a bed in the newsroom? Did you redecorate? What is going here?
I redecorated. I changed my number in hopes of starting with the new life.
Are you being stalked again? What is this?
Her whole life is the news.
I know.
So she eats, sleeps, and breathes the news, and that's just what we get here when we're. I want to know how she fit the bed in there with the water heater.
I want to know how she fit the bed in there with the teleprompter and all that equipment.
Yes, Vern, we're going to do our weekly news like we normally do. We'll do it in the 11:30 hour, half an hour. I'll talk to you in a minute.
Okay.
You know, it's bad when our own employees are calling with blocked caller IDs to screw with us.
You know, here's what I want to know. The fact that you just totally ditched her for a few minutes, was that racist or funny?
Would you stop it? So, to close out on Pelosi's comments, I understand that she's trying to trump up, she's trying to start the beat of the drum for Hillary now. And I totally get that. But to make such a bold statement as she's going to be one of the greatest presidents to ever walk through the door. Prepared.
And now here's what she may have been referring to. She has her luggage. She's picked out the china. Right? She's been there once before. She was a first lady. So she is prepared.
She doesn't have to
come
back
into the White
but
House.
This time, that's
she knows
Bill's
her
job.
china pattern, right?
That's Bill's job now.
I'm just saying, but she can guide him in that, right? She is very prepared.
Do you think
she knows
he's going to turn the entire White House into a man cave? Because you know how
I think he's going to hang on.
I think First Lady picks out a lot of the decorations.
I think the West Wing is going to have stripper poles. I think what? Hear me out on this. Stripper poles and hot tubs, and Biden is still going to be there. Yay, Bill!
You couldn't get rid of him if you tried.
Right.
He's seriously going to be like the cranky old guy in like 30 years that's still living in the White House and they just can't get rid of him. He's like one of those old people they can't evict. You know, you have to go through the whole eviction process and you just can't do it. And he stopped paying rent. He's just in a dirty red robe with stains all over it and his boxers. And
he's going to be like Raymond's dad.
Oh, this is going to be outstanding. You know what? Maybe we should let this happen just so we can sit and watch. Hey, Bill, where's your wife? I didn't know if she was going to throw a party. Well, actually, I'm the first husband now. Oh, yeah? Huh. Yeah,
you know,
there goes your man card. All right, I'll talk to you later. Just wanders out.
Hey, Bill, you know there's a tradition with me and first ladies, but since you're a first man, just saying, it's not weird.
Can a Secret Service agent please go to the Rose Garden and fish out former Vice President Biden, please? Thank you. We're trying to do a press conference. They come out with like the animal handler pole, and they loop it around his neck. And have to drag him.
Why is he wearing water wings and a scuba mask? What is this? It's 1 foot deep. What were you doing in there? You know how many quarters were in there?
Dude, we can do Biden.
I'm not vice president anymore. Papa's got to get paid.
We can do Biden all night because the best part is most of the stuff is fairly easily imaginable. It's not all that big of a stretch.
That's what makes it even funny. If you visualize what we're actually talking about, it makes it even better.
It's not that crazy. All right, so we're going to take a break. We come back. We are going to get the news from Vern, and then we have our good friend Rooster from Conservative Outcry on hold as well, and we will talk to you in a minute. Phone number is 347-205-9399. No more trick numbers. I hate getting called out.
Hello, I'm Lori, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Dr. Larry Arnn on how the founders viewed God as the source of our equality and legal rights.
America's founders knew, obviously, that human beings are not equal in terms of strength or beauty, or in terms of intelligence, industry, or talents. They understood that because of such differences in talents and things like that, some people would be wealthier than others. But human beings are equal, the founders believe, in their possession of natural rights, such as the rights to life, liberty, and property. Today, many Americans reject this equality of rights in order to pursue equality of condition through redistribution, or spreading the wealth around, to use a famous formulation. This is destructive of liberty as the founders understood it.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
And we're back. I love the best yell in the world. How much time do we have as you're getting further down the hall and I go, 10 seconds, and all I can hear is, and then the waft of wind goes by me. So now it is time for the news, and it's our good friend Vern from Studio 2A, our news studio.
Yeah?
Hey, Vern, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are ya?
Doing all right. What do you got for the news for us?
All right, well, we got, let's see, first things first, we can start with Israel.
Yes.
And it looks like they are launching some airstrikes in Syria there. And apparently targeting a suspected weapons site. U.S. officials say Friday night that the strike occurred overnight on Thursday into Friday. Officials told the Associated Press that it did not appear that a chemical weapons site was targeted, and one official rather said that the strike appeared to have hit a warehouse.
Okay, so can we confirm a couple questions we have? One, Israel never actually entered into Syrian airspace, is what they seem to be saying. So there was no breach of the border.
Other than by weapons.
Other than by weapons. But that's not an Israeli crossing the border. So technically, they win.
Okay, so if China did that to us, but it wasn't technically Chinese crossing our border, that'd be okay?
No, we'd kick their ass. But that's not the point.
Okay. But that's not the point.
Well, this happened once before because Syria is no friend of Israel. And I believe that Israel in some manner would, if they had an opportunity, and this is just hypothesis, fire a chemical weapon and have it accidentally land in Syria and say, oh, the rebels must have grabbed that and tried to fire it and they screwed it up. Is that beyond the realm of possibility? I don't think so. Do you? I mean, Hagel already confirmed that they're using chemical weapons against the people. Why wouldn't they use it against countries they hate if they can do it against their own people?
I'm sure they wouldn't. I would imagine that would be one of Israel's concerns and a reason for launching the strike.
Preemptive strike. So, hey, good for Israel because even though our government said that chemical weapons would be a red line that we'd have to deal with and did nothing about it, at least Israel said, yeah, we're going to.
Yeah, Israel said, yeah, that's a red line, so
we're actually going to do something.
We're actually going to do something.
Excellent. And tell us about the NRA.
Well, it looks as if they've got a situation going on. Officially, they are saying, according to the NRA rather, they're kicking off the annual convention Friday with a warning to its members. They say that they are engaged in a culture war that stretches beyond gun rights, further ramping up emotions surrounding the gun control debate. NRA First Vice President James Porter, a Birmingham, Alabama attorney who will assume the organization's presidency on Monday, issued a full-throttle challenge to President Barack Obama in the wake of a major victory regarding gun control, and called on members to dig in for a long fight that will stretch into the 2014 elections.
Well, you know, I will agree with that statement. I think there is not just a war against the Second Amendment, but it is against the culture. You go against the people that believe in the Constitution, people that have quote-unquote old-fashioned values, and I use that term as what's often said by the left. It's
in a
old,
negative way.
In a negative way. It's old. It's out of date. And they use they push the culture that for their side towards more government dependency.
It's revisionist history.
Yeah.
We are. Look, make no mistake about it. We are in a culture fight in this country. There are two diametrically opposed views for where we should be and where we not even views of where we come from, but a revisionist history as well as a revisionist review of the Constitution and so forth, and interpretation of the Constitution. We've talked about the progressive movement here, and we are at a place where we are reaching. I don't want to say a breaking point, but we are stretched very, very thin right now, and America has to pick. We're going one of two ways, and our culture is at risk. Whether it's people of faith, or whether it's the traditional view of the Constitution, the original intent, people that view the original intent of the Constitution as the law of the land, versus the progressives that kind of want to change that and morph us into a pseudo-socialist land. So I would absolutely agree with that statement. I'll tell you, I'm impressed that the NRA is broadening its focus from simply being a pro-gun or a pro-Second Amendment fighting for one issue only, and realizing that that is just one aspect of a culture war that really spans. I mean, that the Second Amendment is just one small facet of that. And I think perhaps they realize that if they really want to save the Second Amendment, they need to fight perhaps for all of them and the traditional cultures of this country. And it sounds like they're preparing to do that.
No, I think, and hey, you know what? I applaud them for it. They're using their platform to get a bigger message out for what needs to be done. And they, I'm sure some of it is to save face a little bit on their behalf, because everyone says, oh, all you're trying to do is push for more guns. And nobody can tell me why, other than to protect the Second Amendment, that they do what they do. Nobody has that argument.
Because that's what they were founded for.
Exactly.
They were founded specifically for
But every time somebody pushes that, oh my God, they're just a bunch of gun-loving. Well, what else is their job? It's a National Rifle Association. So if it's not to protect the Second Amendment, what is their evil plot? They're not hiding it. They're not trying to hide what they're doing.
Right.
So what is their bigger evil plot? Oh, well, they're just jerks. They're poo-poo heads. I mean, nobody can articulate it because they're so forthcoming about it.
I think perhaps, and I'm speculating here, but I think perhaps the NRA realized that they may win these little battles here and there, but eventually these rights are going to continue to be chipped away and chipped away and chipped away, unless you save the traditional American culture as a whole. And so they won't win the Second Amendment fight in the long term unless they win the culture war or help to win the culture war. And so I think in kind of a way, by broadening their scope a little bit or broadening their mission statement, I think they are, in fact, doing a better service to protect the Second Amendment.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with you. So good for them. It'll be interesting to see where that. I'm sure I can't wait to see what mainstream media has to rebut this, especially our good friend
Pelosi should love it, right? Because Washington, Jefferson, Adams, she loves those guys. Those guys are great,
absolutely.
right? Those guys are awesome.
They were
really prepared to take office. Yeah,
I think Christine Matthews is going to have a big issue with this one, so I can't.
Is that the female version of Chris Matthews?
Oh, it was all one and the same. When his voice gets really high.
Okay.
I sometimes get them confused. Hey, Vern, what's going on in SoCal?
What's going on in SoCal? SoCal is on fire, is pretty much what's going on at the moment. It looks as if Each time the wind-driven embers tend to spark a new blaze, or a wall of fire leaps into the Southern California hillside. It also causes problems. It seems that it has started charging towards hundreds of homes. An army of firefighters was right there to douse the fires, or in a direct way to kind of approach the flames and get the flames away from what they call humanity. As a result, the fire that broke out Thursday quickly moved through the Camarillo Springs area without totally destroying a single home.
Well, I know they're saying, and for the people that don't know, they've had really low humidity, really high winds in Southern California. It's been a really really dry, rainy season. It hasn't exactly been raining at all. I know they said that they had one fire that was moving at a ridiculously and growing, and they said it was going to grow. They only had it like 9-10% contained, and it was going to towards the ocean. So, our thoughts are with the people in Southern California as they have to deal with this, because this is the beginning of fire season. Before I moved out here, fire season to us was somebody threw a cigarette butt in a trash can. That was like our fire season, and I didn't understand the amount of devastation until I came out this way. So we wish them well, and hopefully they can get those fires underway. A couple quick rainstorms wouldn't be too shabby either.
And technically, fire season really is not slated to start until the August-September months, but it looks as if we have jumped ahead there, and it looks like that fire, Friday, according to reports, it had grown to more than 28 square miles, and it looks as if they've already had like 10,000 plus acres that have burned intensely. So
and I know
keep an eye on that.
CDF or CAL FIRE, whatever they call it, they've called in their seasonal workers early. They've called in their tankers, the ones that they come from a company called Evergreen that they rent for the season, are already called in early. So, they listen. It's going to be a bad season, and like I said, our thoughts and our prayers are with those folks down there. Hey, Vern, thank you so much for tonight. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thank you, Vern.
And we'll try to keep the noise down so we don't bother you there in the studio. I'll turn the heater off before we go home.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Good night, Vern.
Good night, Vern.
Night.
So that's the Vern news. That's the news from Vern. Moving from one right to the other. It is our good friend is on the phone right now, and it's Rooster from conservativeoutcry.net for his weekly check-in. Rooster, how are you, sir?
Oh, this is where the show goes downhill, guys.
Oh, great. Hi, Rooster.
You say that, but I don't always believe it. Hold on, I got to play your intro.
Red, white, and blue. That's a joke, son. A flag waver.
I love that intro, and it fits you so perfectly. How you doing, buddy?
I'm going to be good this week because I said something last week I regret, and we won't go into it, but if you picked up on it, I didn't mean it. Is Vern related to any of you?
Nope.
Okay, good, because she sounds hot. And I say that because I don't even need the blue pill.
You mean you're not like the Mexican government?
No. A couple of random thoughts from the show. First, is the stripper pole in Bill's man cave going to be reinforced steel because he likes them on the chubby side, as you know?
Listen, it's not just the man cave. It's the entire West Wing is going to be hot tubs, champagne, and stripper poles. The entire West Wing.
And I've come to the conclusion that Joe Biden is the liberal Archie Bunker.
Joe Biden is the liberal Archie Bunker.
Only Archie, I don't know, I think Archie had a better grasp. I think Joe is starting to sometimes tailor outside reality where he's just kind of going on whatever. He's reverting back to a child again. Remember
Remember Mork and Mindy, right?
What's his name? Oh, the crazy...
Exeter.
Well, Joe, I laughed because I remember Vice President...
Exeter?
Dude,
Vice President Exeter. What's the problem?
Dan Quayle.
Okay.
And the few gaffes that Dan Quayle had and the beating that he took for those gaffes.
He was actually a very intelligent man.
He's a very intelligent man, and I'm not saying Joe
Biden probably is too.
But Joe is the foreign relations expert. Can you imagine him looking at the president and saying, "Mr. President, you are so naive."
How do I look going to this black tie dinner? Suave and deboner. You mean debonair? Whatever.
Deboner.
All right, you guys let me down.
Why?
Because I figured you'd be all over this. You know what today is, or tomorrow for you guys, coming up in about 15 minutes. May
Tomorrow
the 4th.
for us in 15 minutes.
Oh, it's May the 4th.
National Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you, too.
No, honest to goodness, it is National Star Wars Day tomorrow. I'm looking at Wikipedia right now.
Wikipedia. Somebody else told me about that today, too.
Speaking of Wookiees.
I want to know who you're going to relate that to right now. I'm trying to go through the cabinet in my head to see who's going to end up being a Wookiee.
I just want to know if Wookiees eat their mates when they're when they're out of office.
I don't know. We'll find. What happened to being good, Rooster? You said you were going to be good.
Can you imagine him in the bedroom?
Racist or funny?
That's what I wanted you to go with. All right, something real. All right,
Okay.
Joe Biden.
Yes.
He was recently at a ceremony at the State Department for the State Department people that have died this year, and they had a moment of silence for the two ex-SEALs that also died.
Let me get. The president couldn't make the trip, huh? All the way down.
Apparently not.
Yeah, I guess it's not someone he should be a part of. Go ahead.
He was too busy talking to Mexico about our gun problem.
Now we learn, and we didn't know this until recently, those SEALs didn't come from the CIA annex that was just down the road. Apparently they hijacked a jet from Tripoli and flew to Benghazi to help those people against orders.
I had not heard that.
I had not heard that either.
Yeah,
so,
it's true.
Rooster, let me ask you this. Were they still active duty SEALs?
And who
no,
flew?
They were not. They were working for the CIA.
Right. So they
were part of a special response force that was based in Tripoli that was not given permission to go help.
But they did anyhow.
So these guys are not going to get the credit they're due.
I heard they were not given permission to go, but it was from the annex. Did they fly the jet? Or was there
No, they commandeered a jet.
So that's what I'm saying. Did they fly it, or did they hijack it and make the pilot fly there, or did a pilot go willingly, or did they know how to fly?
A pilot went willingly.
Wow, that's amazing.
Has the pilot been identified yet?
No.
Do we know where the pilot is?
It's going to come out.
Let's make it easier. Has there been any unknown Caucasian males brought to Guantanamo recently? Because that's probably the same person that flew that plane. That's outstanding. And, we talked about those gentlemen in the past and the amount of heroics that went into just what we knew at the time. And now it expands to this, where they flew from Tripoli to Benghazi against orders. They were able to convince, commandeer, however you want, another pilot to fly with them. I'm assuming it's one of the smaller Gulfstreams or a small plane into that, which was a hot zone at the time. So that guy is a hero.
Do you think they're going to get a star at the CIA? Or is that?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Rooster?
They deserve more than that.
They do.
They do.
Do you think
what they deserve, but what they're going to get is what we're focal point is going to be on.
I think eventually they're going to get what they deserve.
When a new administration's in?
No.
No, you think? I think this is going to force this administration at some point when the full story on this is starting to unravel and they can't hide it anymore.
Do you think there could be impeachment out of this?
I do. And I told you Nostradamus was going to call.
Yeah.
And, I said before, and I thought it was going to happen before the election. Hillary's not going to take the fall for this.
Yeah, you think she's going to come forth and protect her future?
She has to. If she wants to run for president, she has to. She cannot fall for this.
I think Uncle Bill is going to make a deal where they get Hillary's testimony in return for immunity.
Well, and that's what that'll do for her and for the election is that'll bring her name up real quick, and she'll be in the spotlight.
She'll be the hero
week.
for doing the right thing.
Then she'll fall out of the spotlight completely for long enough for people to forget. And then they'll bring her back on an honest thing. Hey, she was the only one that came out and said something. She's the honest one. She was afraid of retribution. She was in an administration that wasn't friendly to women. That's been proven time and again. She was told to keep her mouth shut. So they could spin this in a very, very interesting way. And
she's also going to come out and say that that's the reason she left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and garner enough sympathy also with that perhaps to get the votes.
Oh yeah, no, I think she's already going to lock up a lot of the Democratic votes, but I think there's going to be a lot of independents and stuff that's
actually interesting if she takes that almost martyr role as hey, I'm the one doing the right thing, that's why I left, I was scared. This kind of thing, because now...
I'm not scared. I was fed up.
I was fed up and scared because to come forward. But here's the thing, because she already testified once. So she's going to have to answer for why she didn't tell all when she testified the first time. But, now what's interesting is if you have a Republican that attacks her on that, now they're attacking a hero. They're attacking the person that brought it all down. They're attacking the one that decided to come forward.
Yeah, she's not going to be set up as a straw man by any stretch of the imagination. I think you're right. I think that there are just wheels in motion right now. And I think you're going to see the DNC as a whole in the next 6 months start moving away from this administration because they see the path that it's going down. And for them to be successful, they can't keep it going. So they're going to start, I think you're going to see more prominent Democrats start kind of stepping away. I mean, look at Reid buckled on gun control.
He had no choice.
He had no choice, but he did. He always had a choice. But he still did it. I think you're going to see people...
He didn't have a choice if he wanted to keep his job.
Right, but in theory, yes. But he didn't follow suit, which was amazing. A lot of people thought he was going to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're going to see more prominent Democrats start to step away from this administration in the next year or so in order to have deniability and have that ability to say, hey, you know what? When things started really getting bad, and he started pushing us down that really bad agenda and almost that socialist agenda, and that's not right because... I don't think Hillary is as far progressive as Obama.
She's a progressive.
She's a progressive, but not as far progressive.
She's not a Marxist.
Right.
Maybe.
And I think a lot of people in this country have realized that he is, and the DNC is going to take a huge hit on that unless they start getting big people to step away from it and say, no, we're more traditional Democrats, even though they're not.
Right. Look, we voted to keep God in our
right.
tenants.
But
but it wasn't a real vote. Anyways.
But I think they're gonna be able to put it up to one another and say, look, they're the super uber socialist Marxist progressives, and we're just blue dog Democrats, and there's a big difference. Even though they still are progressive, it's just not as far left. So I think that's Rooster. You're spot on, man. I think that's exactly where they're gonna go with this, and that's gonna be their approach.
And I think it starts next week because there's a hearing next week. And I think one of the whistleblowers is going to speak at the hearing.
Yeah, and, we're starting to hear more about the whistleblowers starting to come out. And everyone asked where they've been asking since...
They were threatened.
September, They were threatened to keep their mouths shut.
According to the reports, attorneys haven't been able to get documents.
Yeah, and, I know it's not like this administration to threaten somebody with some sort of retribution, like, say, I don't know, news reporters. For printing stuff that they don't want printed,
right? Like Bob Woodward or somebody who's not a
right, or the former Clinton aide there.
Yeah, they wouldn't do that.
So it's going to be interesting to see all the people there, because eventually, I think this whole time they've been trying to figure out how to keep these people quiet and what they can do and all. And now that once it's kind of the leak in the dam. Once that first trickle of water starts. It's going to happen fast, and I don't think this administration can do enough damage control to make this go away.
Well, when it's Hannity and the O'Reillys that are talking about it, it's easy to kind of blow by it. But when you start talking about Brett Baer and Shepard Smith, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Then it becomes real news because they're
Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio. There you go.
Conservative Outcry.
Yeah.
The Exceptional Conservative Show.
Hey, Sean,
Yes, sir.
You and I had a disagreement. On
We did
Twitter.
have a disagreement. We had a positive disagreement. And
we did, but actually, you started my next article.
Oh, I'm glad I did for once. Well,
but it wasn't about our disagreement. It was about you said when we talked about winning the war.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me to thinking, when's the last one we won?
That's a tough one. Well, let's start at the beginning. So Rooster essentially said that even though he despises the bomber from the Boston Marathon, and he wishes nothing but the worst per se, and that he deserves, he doesn't believe that he should get the death penalty because you shouldn't give him the martyrdom that he is looking for. Rooster, am I wrong?
That's basically correct. Yeah.
That's the long and short. My thing is if he's eligible for the death penalty, he should get it. I don't care what his beliefs are, but it's sad enough that he's getting a trial, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's even worse if we're not going to prosecute him to the absolute fullest extent just because we want to prove a point.
I have to disagree with you on one point, Sean, and agree with you on one point.
Okay.
I disagree with you that it's a tragedy that he shouldn't be getting a trial. I think that they maybe shouldn't have Mirandized him right away.
Uh-huh.
But he is an American citizen, and as an American citizen, I think that he deserves a trial.
Let me correct myself.
Okay.
For what he's being charged with, as I've said before, I think he should be charged with treason.
Okay. Yes, I think he should.
I apologize. No, I believe that because of his status that he does have a right to a trial. I apologize.
And I agree. And I agree with you on the death penalty thing because regardless of somebody else's views, we as a country, in my opinion, should hold firm to our laws and our views. And so if, according to our laws, he's eligible for the death penalty, then we don't sacrifice our principles for the sake of somebody else's belief system.
A fine argument. We just differ on the definition of punishment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No,
but we went further though when we talked about the war on terror, and are we winning it?
Right. Well, we're not now.
And I got to thinking, when was the last war we won? And
Grenada.
Okay. Boy, that really pissed off Maggie too, didn't it?
Uh-huh.
Because I believe Ronnie didn't tell her.
No, I believe you're right. The Marines just showed up one night.
Well, he did. He said in his book that he didn't have the heart to tell her they were already on their way. All right,
well,
but
if he was nothing else, he was a gentleman. So.
Yeah. These people are not afraid to die. They want to die.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So you have to fight them in a manner that makes them not want to do what they're doing. And the last time we did this, and the last time we fought people that were so radicalized that they were just crazy, was the Japanese.
Yeah. A lot of people forget that as bad as the Nazis were, the Japanese soldiers in World War II were so indebted to their cause, and it wasn't that it was. I don't know if radicalized is the word, but they were so. What's the word I'm looking for?
They were radical, but they would specifically target Red Cross,
right?
Hospitals and so forth. They would execute
no holds barred
prisoners, right? They
no Geneva Convention,
they did not believe in an honorable war,
right?
If there was such a thing, and there was, and I mean there's stories about it even on the German side, especially the fighter pilots.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like a gentleman's war. I mean, if a German fighter pilot shot down an American because he knew a farmer or the Gestapo would torture and kill that American, there are numerous stories where that German fighter pilot, and most of them were not members of the Nazi Party, would actually circle or land and take the American prisoner themselves because the Luftwaffe would actually treat the prisoners with respect. I mean, actually feed them well, clothe them well. And there were actually friendships that were forged, and there are numerous stories about that. The Japanese, that was not the case.
They were absolutely brutal at the time to anybody who was not in the Japanese army.
Right.
And what did it take to beat the Japanese?
A couple nukes, two of them.
Yeah, now I'm not proposing a nuke, but I just watched a documentary about Curtis LeMay, and he was the one that came up with the firebombing campaign.
Yes.
We need to unleash our military and just let them do what they do.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like everything else.
We don't want to occupy these countries. That's the mistake that George Bush made.
Right.
You don't occupy. You punish. And collateral damage. Well, so be it. Quite frankly, half of them don't like us anyway.
I think you need to reduce collateral damage. I think. Look, our country has operated. Our military has operated according to the just war doctrine. Since its inception, and we have been fighting Muslim extremists literally since the birth of our country, since the separation of the colonies from Great Britain, when we were no longer under the British Navy's patrol care, and we had the Tripoli pirates that were enslaving Americans and holding for ransom and so forth. And
actually, I disagree with you with that, because I believe that George Washington was said to have fought an unjust war.
George Washington didn't send the Marines in to fight that, or to fight them. Jefferson did.
No. I'm talking about the Revolution. George Washington didn't fight the way most people did at the time.
He didn't fight the way they did, but I'm talking the just war doctrine, which was found in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and it's been taught by St. Augustine, is the one that came up with this in 350 or something AD, and it talks about the limitations and what are the just reasons biblically for fighting a war, and our military is held to that. I'm not talking about a conventional or an unconventional war, or a respectable or unrespectable war in terms of
why we engage.
In terms of right, but why?
Are you calling for a crusade?
No. I'm not calling for a crusade. But it's the just war doctrine that has been taught at our military academies. And even out in California at Vandenberg, at the air bases that have the nuclear silos, talking about giving the stance or the reasoning why these types of weapons can be released. And this is taught at our war colleges, and it's been throughout our military history as a doctrine that is used for the United States as a just reason to go to war from a moral standpoint.
Well, right now our war college is teaching how to deal with a civil revolt by the Tea Party.
Right, it is. But what I'm saying is that, and we've kind of gone away from this just war doctrine because it has some of that Christian belief to it. Some of, like I said, in California they no longer teach it, and that's a different segment that we were hoping to get into tonight, because it ties into the whole talk earlier this week about court-martials for Christians in the military who are sharing their faith.
Speaking of biblical references or whatever, you know why the Israelis are better at us than this? I figured this out the other day. It's because of that whole New Testament thing. See, we're all about turning the other cheek. The Israelis, they don't believe in the New Testament. They're still an eye for an eye.
Well, essentially, you don't threaten us and expect us not to do something about it. Is how they live. Like we said, we were talking about Syria. Obama said, "Oh, that's a red line." Hagel confirmed that, and they just did it though.
And you're talking about the from the Sermon on the Mount, where they said, if one strikes you on the right cheek, turn him the other also, and that Matthew 5:39. But there's other verses in the Bible where Jesus, in Luke, where Jesus talks about, hey, let him who has no sword sell his mantle and buy one. And you reconcile that with the fact of, hey, we must not allow evil to go unchecked. There is a time for us to kill in the Old Testament, which is just as divinely inspired if you talk to Christians and believers, as the New Testament, where the Old Testament talks about Ecclesiastes or whatever, where there is in fact a time to kill. So,
is there anything that you don't read and memorize word for word?
It is insane. I told you, it's like living with an encyclopedia in this room sometimes.
Look, all I'm saying is
I remember from my Catholic schooling was Uriah the Hittite was sent to the forefront of the battle so that David could take Bathsheba as his wife.
And Catholic girls were awesome. Other than that,
Rooster, I agree with you. I saw a bumper sticker the other day. It made me think. It says, you can bomb things to pieces, but you can't bomb your way to quote unquote peace. And I thought to myself,
yeah, you can.
Well,
you can. Reagan did it.
It worked in World War II. That's exactly what happened in the Japanese theater, in the Pacific theater. We need to allow our military. We need to say, and this is when the government screws up, in my opinion. We need to do this. If we're going to do this, and like we said, we don't agree with us going abroad and fix other people's problems. But if it's a war we have to have, i.e., I'll use the war on terror, there might be collateral damage. It is unfortunate. We will absolutely do everything we can to limit it. That's a possibility. Having said that, we're going to kick ass and take names and get our soldiers in and get them home as soon as possible. It is not our job to occupy. It's not our job to rebuild. We're going to eliminate the threat, whatever that threat may be, and that's what we do. And then just leave it at that.
And all of that falls, that's what goes back, all of that falls within the just war doctrine, which our country has been using in the War College. And we can do that.
As an honorary sackhead, I'm proposing a new doctrine.
Okay.
And the doctrine is this. If your country harbors terrorists and allows them to do what they do, then we're going to come after the leader of your country. We're going to drop a bomb on your house. Ronald Reagan did it, and you didn't hear from Gaddafi for 20 years.
No, he showed up in a white muumuu in the middle of Central Park
and started
talking
about,
insane.
Yeah. I think he stopped.
Or better yet, we lose a building, you lose a power plant.
Well, and I'm trying to think of the country that's right next to Chechnya, where these two brothers, or the one brother they're saying was
Russia
radicalized. No,
it's below Chechnya. It's Abu Dhabi.
No, it's like Dagrigan or Darigan. I forget how to pronounce it. But we should be over there right now saying, who trained them? Nobody wants to tell us? Okay. We'll be right back. And when I say we, I mean an F-16. And when I say an F-16, I mean you'll hear a...
No, I mean a B-2.
You know what I mean?
I prefer the B-2 myself.
I say F-16 so it gets really low.
How about
a
B-17?
Really and then you...
Right? Let's send the USS Constitution over and like a B-17.
Fire one across their
we can't afford to send the Constitution over.
No, that'd be super expensive. We have to send something easy.
You know what? I would just on principle.
But we've already determined that government is completely corrupt. They harbor terrorists. There was I was reading an article earlier today by a guy that's a quote-unquote specialist in that country, whatever that means, and he says, there's no bomb-making schools there. You can do it. You can just do it. You could just make bombs. It's on every street corner. It's in houses.
Well, what's that big body of water? The Mediterranean?
Caspian.
Well, everything that surrounds it, they all harbor terrorists.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been a hotbed for years. But that country in particular is supposed to be the worst in the entire world.
So what do? Do you fly a B-2 over and send one missile down the throat of every leader in all those countries in that region?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure I was understanding you okay.
You got who's the guy from The Hangover? Who's the Chinese dude from The Hangover?
He's actually a medical doctor, right?
He is actually a medical doctor, yeah, and he's also I know who you're talking about.
Okay, well, I mean the leader of North Korea.
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
Little Kim.
He's got one of our citizens over there. In jail. If you don't release him, this is what will happen to you. That's how you deal with those people.
Well, but that's the problem is they're not.
And the thing is, nobody's ever dealt with him that way, so he thinks he can do whatever the hell he wants to do. Or better yet, China, you better reel him in, or this is what we are going to do.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I necessarily want to blame China for North Korea.
China
runs North Korea.
China, but I think China thinks that North Korea is out of their stinking mind right now. I really do, and I think North Korea has given us plenty of provocation to go to war, other than holding one of our citizens.
Well, quite frankly, we're still at war with them. Really, we're technical about it.
Correct, we are. But I'm talking to actually start the active shooting war again. They've given us ample reason. They came right out and said, hey, we're going to turn you into a sea of fire. Hey, you know what? if a bully on the playground says, "I'm going to kick your butt," you don't wait for the bully to kick your butt, in my opinion.
That's what my dad always said.
Yeah, mine too. Although in schools nowadays, you'd probably get kicked out for that.
Well, yeah, you're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah. But I agree with having a no-holds-barred war. When I say no-holds-barred war, I don't mean carpet bombing cities like we did in World War II. And hey, that was the war of the times. We did what we had to do. But look, I'm all about going and actively engaging these terrorists wherever they live. If you're going to win a war on terror.
Well, and
so could we just can we train our own terrorists then and send them over there to blow up their buildings?
No, that'll never happen. What we need to do is, once you make a few examples, it'll stop quick. And by the way, it's Dagestan. That's the city I was looking for.
Yeah, Abadabadabadab.
Yeah, exactly.
Astan.
Right, it's one of the Astans. It's near Chechnya, all that stuff. But it's a jihadi hotbed. It's one of the worst in the countries.
Yeah,
Anyhow,
but before Boston, they didn't go worldwide. They were solely
right.
aimed
They
at Russia.
stayed fairly localized, where they have all-day terror. They said it's every single day, and it's bad. And you never hear about it because it never affected us before. And now the
news is saying that the person that radicalized him was the guy we killed in Iraq, I believe. Or Pakistan, but
Yeah, no, I know who you're talking about, but we'll see what's going to happen. Hey, Rooster, we got to take our last break.
Okay, you guys have a great night. I'm going to actually listen to the rest of the show on my phone.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for calling in, Rooster.
All right, see you guys.
ConservativeOutcry.net. We'll be back in a second.
Hey, if you care about what's going on in the world, you cannot afford to miss my show. Hi, this is Andrea Kaye, your host of The Andrea Kaye Show. It's not always about the money. Okay, it is always about the money, but it's also about politics, pop culture, and you. The only thing street about this show is the smarts. There's a reason they call me Dynamite in a Dress, and you'll find out why when you listen Tuesday mornings at 10 on Financial News and Talk.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hey folks, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. As a native Bostonian, my heart broke on April 15, 2013, watching those horrendous attacks at the Boston Marathon. Now there's a way that you can help. Go to onefundboston.org, ONEFUNDBOSTON.org, where you can donate to help the victims and families from this awful attack. Onefundboston.org, all the proceeds will go directly to the victims' families. Thank you very much from Sackheads Radio.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the wingnut leaders throughout the world to give our men and women of the armed forces a job, as well as all the anarchists, terrorists, and Occupy folks that give our men and women in uniform on the home front, firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and first responders, job security here in the States as well. So thank all you wingnuts out there. This is Sackhead Clint saying have a good day.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radio elegancy and quality.
Wait, no reason to keep going.
Right, and I was like, no, because you have to. You listen.
Because
you have
if
to
there's
prove
one
a
thing
point.
we do on this show is we beat the dead horse as much as we possibly can.
Because you have to prove your point and provide enough historical context to anybody that researches it and going to say, well, sheep. I said sheep. I said, see, well, I can't. Yeah, I can't argue with that. Hey, I want to. We touched on something with that discussion with Rooster,
right?
And that was the Pentagon came out and said, they hinted, yeah, we might be court-martialing Christians who want to share their faith, and I think they took some hit for it, but because they came out today and said, yeah, what we said, that's not actually true. We're not going to be court-martialing anybody.
Did we say court-martial? We didn't mean that.
Yeah.
We didn't know what it meant when we said it. We'd never heard of that term before.
We didn't know that it was...
We were just playing?
Right. We were just kidding. But the quote from the Department of Defense was, court-martials and non-judicial punishments are decided by a case-by-case basis, and they were talking about specifically... Christians and their attempt to evangelize with other Christians or whatnot. And again, they came out today, and this story from the Washington Examiner, Pentagon, no, we won't court-martial Christians who talk about their religion.
Oh, right, because it goes against our Constitution?
Right.
Maybe that's just it.
So I read, okay, so then I started...
Whose idea was that, Holder's? That sounds like something from a Holder idea.
You would
think, I have an idea.
But it's this knucklehead called Michael Weinstein. I don't know. Called Mikey Weinstein. And I think we should be at ideological war with him. But here's what this guy...
What was his name again?
Michael Weinstein. Right. I actually read an article from the Huffington Post that this guy wrote, and it's April 16th of this year. Now, because I started kind of looking at this, and to give you a little background on Michael Weinstein, he was a United States Air Force Academy graduate in 1977, and hey, we appreciate your service.
Absolutely.
But he founded this group. I don't even want to mention the group and give it justice, but he basically founded this group to root out religion in the military. And what he said in his Huffington Post articles is I'm gonna name it because otherwise people are gonna think I'm full of it. It's called the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, and he says that he wants to develop new policies on religious tolerance in the military. Well, what he says in this Huffington Post article, and I'm quoting, today we face incredibly well-funded gangs of fundamental Christian monsters.
Gangs.
Monsters.
Monsters.
Who terrorize their fellow Americans by forcing their weaponized and twisted version of Christianity upon their helpless subordinates in our nation's armed forces. And I'm thinking, oh man, these people sound bad. We need to get them. But on his article here, he also says, this is a quote, I founded the civil rights fighting organization, the Military Religious Freedom Foundation. Wait, I founded the civil rights fighting organization. Yeah, that's a quote from the article. So obviously he's fighting civil rights, it sounds like, which is accurate, to do one thing, fight those monsters who would tear down the constitutionally mandated wall separating church and state in the technologically most lethal entity ever created by humankind, the U.S. military. Now, he said something here. The constitutionally mandated wall separating church and state. It so happens that I have a copy of the Constitution with me. And
it does so happen.
It just so happens. So I'm going to read a quote here from George Washington. Not that he would know anything about the foundation, but he said this at the Constitutional Convention. So it's probably invalid.
It's kind of
because it was at the convention that wrote the constitutionally.
This might have been a little willy-nilly.
Right. The constitutionally mandated wall separating church and state. And what he said is, if to please the people we offer what we ourselves disapprove, how can we afterwards defend our work? Let us raise a standard to which the wise and honest can repair. The event is in the hand of God. That's weird because he's at the convention and he's mentioning God. He also said the adoption of the Constitution will demonstrate as visibly the finger of providence, capital P, referring to God, as any possible event in the course of human affairs can ever designate it. Interesting, not that he would know anything about God. Benjamin Franklin, Daniel Webster, they all talk about God. And the Constitution is one of our 4 organic documents,
right,
which we've talked about. Well, so is the Declaration of Independence. We talked about this. You have to read the two together to really understand kind of our founding principles. The Declaration of Independence, it doesn't mention God or the Creator. Oh, no, it does. It mentions
it's in there, but
God
I mean,
and the Creator.
that gets overlooked.
Doesn't mean anything. So then you start looking at the First Amendment. Okay, the First Amendment has to be where it talks about this wall, right, separating. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of the speech or of the press or of the right. Congress. So this amendment restricts Congress.
Right.
It doesn't restrict the states.
Just Congress.
It doesn't restrict the president. It doesn't restrict the judiciary. It restricts Congress. It doesn't say God shall not play any part in our country or in our government at all. Okay, so that can't be it. So what is this guy constitutionally mandated wall separating? See, if he would have just said the wall separating church and state, I may give him a little bit more credit, but that is nowhere in the Constitution or the founding documents.
Right.
That phrase came from a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to the Danbury Baptist Association, which was located in Connecticut at the time, in 1802. That's where that phrase comes from. And it wasn't a court case until 1879 in Reynolds v. United States that a judge, so this is 100 years after our founding, that a judge said, yeah, okay, maybe there's this, this invisible wall or whatnot, but there is no constitutionally mandated wall separating church or state. So I think that's interesting.
Well, real quick, because you'll be interested in these couple comments. I know we don't have a lot of time, but Lethal Migraine is in the chat room, and he said the Constitution is an out-of-date piece of paper that doesn't apply to anything. It needs to be completely rewritten to fit today's standards. It's not worth the paper it's written on.
Hey, Jackass, there's a progress for that. It's called the amendment process, and it is in law, so if you do want to change it, then you can go ahead and go through the legal process, which would be the amendment process, and change it at that time. But until that happens, that is the law of the land. And so whether you think it's just a parchment or whatever, we are in fact a nation of laws. And again, if there are people that want to change it, there is a legal process in place to do so. And again, it is called the amendment process. And you can find that process in the Constitution itself. What other comment did you have?
And then same commenter, why should we rely on a fictional deity? There's nothing in the Constitution or the amendments that say anything religious.
And again, that is listen, we don't have to rely on a deity. You don't have to rely on any deity. Nobody says
freedom to.
Yeah,
not rely on anything.
Exactly. You have the freedom to not believe, but the freedom to not believe doesn't change the fact that we do have a background and a foundational structure in this country that is based on that. And you can go, again, that goes even to the Declaration where the Creator and Providence is mentioned numerous times over. George Washington referred to Providence and God several times in several of his speeches and addresses, even in his Thanksgiving Day proclamation. And Congress used to open with prayer. There was a Bible that Congress authorized. There's some debate whether it was for use in schools or not, but that's beside the fact. Congress authorized the use of a particular Bible, and I think it was 1781 or 82. The Continental Congress authorized it. So if Congress didn't believe that they could, in fact, authorize a Bible or it wasn't their place, they would not have done so, yet they did, in fact, issue this proclamation to authorize that. So it's not that you have to have a separation. It's that, hey, you know what?
Congress or the government cannot say you have to worship this God or you have to worship as a Catholic, Protestant, whatever it is.
There's no national religion.
There's no national religion. Your freedom. You're
not
free
like the Church of England used to be.
Exactly, and that's why that is. You're free to worship or not worship. You're free to be an atheist or whatever it is you decide to be. So we're not forced to worship anything, but the fact that a God or a supreme being is recognized by a government does not make for a specific religion. And that's the short answer to that. But I urge anybody who's interested, look, don't read somebody's interpretation of this. Go back and read the documents themselves, the original documents. Read original source documents. Look, I can write a book of interpretation, and somebody can read it and say, hey, well, this must be it. Well, no. Take your own interpretation, and really it's not difficult to interpret. I can give the Constitution to an 8-year-old who can pretty much tell you what it says. It's not a difficult document to read.
It was written that way intentionally.
Exactly. Everybody is supposed to be able to understand the law. But if you go back and read the founders' writings and your organic documents, the Northwest Ordinance is a great one, and that talks about religion and morality being necessary to a free state and a free people. Education should forever be encouraged. And that's not me calling them the 4 organic documents. That's Congress that called them the 4 organic documents of our nation. So whether you like it or not, you don't have to agree with it, but there is a foundation of a religious element in our documents and in our culture here, and in our laws as a result. I know we only have a few minutes left.
No, getting back to this, you covered all the comments about the history of the Constitution extremely well, so I'm not going to waste my time. But this whole Mikey Weinstein guy, it sounds like to me that he is creating an issue to make himself important. That's the only way that I can put it. And I know he was in, he worked for Perot. He's a registered Republican. I believe that he was in one of the Republican administrations. I forget if it was one of the Bushes or Reagan. I know he's a lawyer, but it sounds like here's a guy that says, you know what, I'm going to create this problem and then become the hero for it. And that's all I'm giving him credit for, is he's over exaggerating perhaps one or two instances that may have occurred where they, did somebody ever say the words, hey, if you're going to be part of our unit, you have to be part of our religion? I don't know.
And if they said, hey, if you want to serve in this military, you have to be a Catholic or you have to be
right.
That's a different story. But if a soldier is having issues and somebody comes up and says, hey, you know what? We have these services available to you, and we also have a chaplaincy program that's available to you if you choose to use it. What's wrong with that? Yet there has been issues where commanders have been barred from disclosing any programs that are tied to the chaplaincy,
right,
or programs involving religion. Look, it's offered as an option. They're not saying, hey, you know what? You have to go to this Christian-based program for your problem or whatever it is.
As we learned with Fort Hood, after Fort Hood, that there's been a lot of other religions that are in the military and have been encouraged, and they bring in chaplains from just about every religion that they can find to try to help or I don't want to say cater, that's not the word I'm looking for, but make it available to the different members that have different faiths. The Jewish community, the Christian community, the Muslim community, all the folks that serve that have different religions, they try to do that. So, like I said, it sounded like to me that this guy felt like he needed to be important, and he's going to create this charge for something that doesn't exist.
And the scary thing is it goes back to the we talked about the just war doctrine,
right,
which has been taught here, which is tied to some form of religious belief, obviously. Listen, if we have to conduct our military and operate in a moral way, I think it's bad that there is a religious undertone to it without causing its individuals to force and pick a particular religion.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And again, this guy's doing nothing more than tooting his own horn and making himself popular. And sadly, it's being entertained. That's the scary part. This shouldn't even be a blip on the radar.
Nope, it should not.
But it's out there, and we have to deal with it. So thank you, my friend,
for
an
sir.
excellent show. I guess we'll do this next week, too.
if we feel like it.
That sounds like a good time. Thank you to Rooster, conservativeoutcry.net for calling in. Thank you, Vern, for doing the news. Check us out, sackheadsradio.com, on Facebook, facebook.com/sackheadsradio, and Twitter @sackheads. We will see you next Friday night, same time. Thank you for joining us.